McQuestion, for over 28 years talking about things that matter with people who care. Production of McQuestion is made possible in part by individual viewers, supporters of the Foundation for Responsible Television, the University of Texas at Dallas, creating the future.
In August of 2019, 181 CEOs of America's largest companies issued a statement that they were changing the primary purpose of their corporations from a sole emphasis on increasing shareholder value to the purpose of serving all stakeholders. Specifically, they promised these things. Number one, deliver value to our customers. Number two, invest in our employees. Number three, deal fairly and ethically with our suppliers. Number four, support the communities in which we work. And finally, generate long-term value for shareholders. Now, on this program, we'll examine these purposes, whether they're new, why the CEOs made this statement, and most importantly, whether these promises can be kept. And to help me do so are two guests and my co-host, Jim Falk. So Jim, welcome back. The CEO and the President of World Affairs Council of Dallas-Fort Worth.
It's always good to be with you, and also nice to be with my friend over here who you're about to introduce.
You know Keith Cargill, without a doubt, and Keith Cargill is founder, president, and CEO of Texas Capital Bank, and following college and a stint at, let's just say, Arthur Anderson. He's been a career banker. And joining us via a satellite is Raj Sisodia. Now, Raj Sisodia is the Olin Distinguished Professor of Global Business at Babson College. He's the Whole Foods Market Research Scholar in Conscious Capitalism and the co-author of this book, which is called Conscious Capitalism. Raj, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Dennis. Great to be back.
Good. We'll come back to you in just a minute. But first, Keith, let me just start with you. I mean, you saw those statements that I put up there. You read the thing. And how does that resonate with you?
I believe it's on target, Dennis. I believe while it will be challenging for these CEOs with companies as large as they lead to accomplish these things quickly, I believe they have the right intellectual buy-in and commitment over time to try and move their culture in this direction.
Okay, what would it be? I mean, I happen to have known, you're one of the 7 founders of Texas Capital Bank. I happen to know most of the others and have great respect for all of them and what you guys have done. But when you were looking to found that bank, what did you guys talk about? Values? Did you talk about stakeholders? And what exactly did you talk about then?
We did talk about these things, and we had a consensus that to really be able to compete against the large companies in our industry and to be effective and be able to serve the clients in a way that we thought would be necessary to win the best clients, very important if you're a bank, that we needed a culture that really was one of respect, collaboration, engagement, passion about what we were able to do for our clients and for each other. And by doing that, we had an opportunity to extend that sense of partnership and building something significant and special in our communities with our not-for-profit partners and also with our other stakeholders, strategic partners or advisors. So that sense of partnership, Dennis, is really what drove us to this sense of purpose, bigger than only profit. But I want to emphasize, at Texas Capital Bank, we get it. Profit is what fuels the ability to do all these things.
Now, you've got to finance it. You've got to have some way to finance this thing. Peter Drucker said, I think, and I may be paraphrasing, years ago, there's no such thing as profit. But what he really meant is that we've got to take care of our employees and all these other stakeholders. And we've got this idea of, let's just say we wouldn't have any capital if we didn't take care of that group as well. So it's a cost of capital, so to speak.
What do you think, if I may, what do you think pushed the Business Roundtable to take this action now?
Jim, I believe part of what's moving corporations, leaders of corporations to think this way about purpose is the fact that if you're going to win for the next 20 years, it's all about, are you attracting the right talent And is that talent going to be engaged and have a sense of significance in what they do when they wake up in the morning and come to your company? And millennials and Zs, they do want a company where they're doing something more significant to make lives better. And if you can tie that to the importance of making lives better for all stakeholders, clients, not-for-profit organizations you engage with, one another as colleagues, you have something that you do wake up and get excited about each day. I can tell you, I still feel that way after 20 years. I can't wait to go do what we have a chance to do each day.
Well, you and I and Jim are not exactly millennials at this point, to say the least, however. Now, Raj, they started that bank 20 years ago. What are your total assets now?
Just over 30 billion.
30 billion. They started and they had one of the largest capital raises at the time. Now, before you guys wrote Conscious Capitalism, but Raj, before you sort of teamed up with John Mackey, I think you had done some work in the corporations that had a different kind of culture, and you looked at their performance as well. Give us some background on how you got into Conscious Capitalism.
Yes, Adam. So I wrote a book called Firms of Endearment, How World-Class Companies Profit from Passion and Purpose. And that book came out in 2007. And in that, I was looking at companies that were loved by their customers, by their employees, welcomed by their communities, had long-term stable partnerships with their suppliers and so forth. And I was looking at what made that happen, what made these companies loved by everybody. And we found what we now call the principles or pillars of conscious capitalism. First of all, that they did have a purpose that went beyond profit, that they were trying to do something meaningful, that's something that was worth doing in the world. And that's why they were organized as a business. So Whole Foods' purpose was to educate people that what you put into your body makes a difference to your health and to the health of the food system and the health of the planet. And that's what drives them. That's what attracts employees to work for them. That's what brings customers through to their door. And that's what the investors who put money into the company really cared about. So that purpose became sort of a rallying point for all stakeholders to actually be on the same side of the table. They are not adversaries sort of competing for a limited pool of value, but basically they're all in this together to bring about this change in the world and be participants in that. So the idea of purpose, the idea of creating value for all of your stakeholders consciously, not just using them to maximize profits, but actually consciously seeking to serve them and give them, for employees, for example, meaningful work, the ability to look after their families, for customers, focusing on their health and well-being and quality of life, not just on selling them as much as possible, making sure your suppliers are viable and profitable and don't squeeze them, investing in communities, investing in the environment, and even paying taxes. We found that set of 34 companies in that book, or 28 companies actually, 18 public and 12 private, did all these things. And we found that the financial performance, which surprised us when we looked at it after the fact, we picked them based upon these criteria. And we found that these companies had actually outperformed the S&P 500 by a 9-to-1 ratio over a 10-year period, even as they were paying their employees well, giving good benefits, investing in customer care, and doing all the other things, right? So it illustrated very clearly that business is not a zero-sum game, that when you align all these energies together, you actually release extraordinary value creation potential. And that's what businesses are to be, right? There's one way of doing business, which is simply that we squeeze our employees and we squeeze our suppliers and we charge as much as we can to our customers and we do all of that, and that's how